Democratic Alliance in the Eastern Cape has taken to the streets over the rising cost of living in the country. The party says economic hardship is becoming a pandemic. Newzroom Afrika's Siphosethu Booi is standing by with the very latest details in terms of where in the process the party is at this hour. Siphosethu.
Well, good afternoon to you today and to the rest of our viewers. And like you correctly stated, the march had started at 11 a.m. this morning as the Democratic Alliance, led by its provincial leaders, took to the streets of Butterworth, also just highlighting the fact that there has been, cases of women who have allegedly taken their lives, including those of their children, simply because of the issue of poverty in the Eastern Cape province. It's no secret that there's a high number of unemployment in this particular area. And just speaking to some of the residents, paint a picture, of course, of the issue of unemployment, and also one that is of desperate need of job opportunities and skills, in particular for young people. As some of the parents here, or rather the elderly, were saying that they've got children who went to school to nearby universities like Fort Hare, Wusu, but unfortunately their children are unemployable. So I'm joined now by Siphosethu Booi, the DA Chief Whip, and she's going to talk to us about the significance of us being at a taxi rank and also at a spaza shop.
I think it's very important to actually bring the issue exactly where it belongs, because I think sometimes being in government, being in the union buildings, being in air-conditioned offices means that you are out of touch with the realities of people on the ground. Here today we have decided to demonstrate through the town of Butterworth. We were overwhelmed by the number of people who organically joined our march because South Africans are suffering under the yoke of the rising cost of living. We have been saying to government that it is about time that we cushion the blow of the rising cost of living, particularly to those who are poor. We have petitioned the Minister of Finance to say extend the food basket of those goods that are zero rated in terms of VAT. Things like baby food, things like milli meal, things like coffee, things that are basic to this community. We also know last night that the fuel price went up, and we know that it is these very people here who are going to bear the brunt of not being able to go to school because of the rising cost of taxi fare, of the rising cost of food, of the rising cost of even being able to go collect their grants. All of this is also underscored by the fact that the system is broken. The Social Development Department has broken the SASSA system to the point where even those people who are eligible to get social grants are not able to. So many people across this province have been going to post banks saying that they are unable to get their money. And so what we sought to do today is to bring the issue exactly where it is, where it affects the ordinary South African in the street who takes a taxi, who doesn't get to be driven around by VIP protection, who doesn't get to have the state pay for their generator, they pay for their electricity.
And also, if we were just speaking about that matter, considering the fact that the Democratic Alliance is the second biggest political party in the Eastern Cape as well, what's the plan of coming to 2024 with regards to garnering votes, of course, of these vulnerable community members of such areas in the Eastern Cape who still believe in the African National Congress?
Look, I mean, our offer to the people of the Eastern Cape is simply this. 6 out of 10 people in the Eastern Cape live in poverty. This province has the highest unemployment rate in the country. In order for you to change the way that you live, in order for you to change your lot in life, that of your children, you've got to change the way that you vote. And that is our simple message, that people must register to vote, because ultimately you've got to give a different government a chance to do things differently. We're saying we will care for the most vulnerable. We're saying we will increase the child grant. We're saying that it is not enough to give people 500 rand to raise a child. We are saying we will do these things. And if the people of the Eastern Cape will give us a chance, we will take the chance like we did in the Western Cape, and we will turn lives around.
And also, just lastly, the issue of unemployment is one that's quite high in the Eastern Cape province. I've been saying this for a number of weeks now, but what are the solutions? What is it that the Democratic Alliance will do differently to the current government or other opposition parties who are also looking into garnering votes in such areas of the Eastern Cape like Butterworth, Mthatha, just to name a few?
Yeah. Look, I mean, you know, and I don't mean to be trite and say this is simple, but there are simple ways in which you can make sure that you pull people out of poverty. Number one, you've got to create jobs. South Africans are not looking for handouts. South Africans are not looking to live on 350 rand. They are looking for work, dignified work, so that they may be able to provide for their families. So you've got to grow the economy. The only way to grow the economy is if you revive these towns. These towns used to be booming in the textile industry. These towns used to be booming in terms of the motor industry. They no longer are. The ANC has broken small towns in the Eastern Cape. So you need to be able to invest in infrastructure, service delivery, attract investment, have businesses be the employers, and then you start to essentially ease the burden on the state of those who rely on social security.
And lastly, the issue of coalitions is one that's in talks. Come 2024, we could see, different districts, municipalities now being run by, of course, coalitions. We've seen it in Nelson Mandela Bay and the situation and how that turned out. What would be the case for the Democratic Alliance in terms of which parties they'd be, in partnership with, should push come to shove, or a situation where coalitions will be the answer to the current state?
Look, any political party will tell you it is very premature to speak about which parties you'll work with and you'll not work with before an election. But as you know, the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, has led the process of putting together the multi-party charter of political parties in the country. And those are political parties who've said, we see what the problems are in South Africa. We agree on what the issues are and what the solutions are. And we are prepared to work together after Election Day, once we have brought our votes together, to unseat the ANC. So our main goal here is to make sure that the 35% that we have across these political parties, these opposition parties that we work with, we take them to 50+1, so that we can change the government in South Africa, so that a town like this can thrive again, so that young people here can have hope again. It is deeply criminal that things like this have been allowed to happen.
Siphosethu Booi, thank you for making time to speak to us here on Newzroom Afrika. The DA Chief Whip speaking to us outside the Butterworth taxi rank, and of course the shop here. I'm just going to move out of shot just to give you to do a bit of the placards that have been displayed by some of the members of the Democratic Alliance in this area. And from what I also understand is that we will be moving now to the Office of the Social Development. That's where the memorandum of demands will be handed over and hopefully be received by the person that has been appointed by the office to receive the memorandum of demands from the Democratic Alliance. Coming to you live here in Butterworth in the Eastern Cape.
Okay, Siphosethu Booi, thank you very much.